pretty good stuff in here. Yeah, really, it really is. My new book, Circumcision in the New Creation, ? Okay, on special, don't forget it. Time's running out to take advantage. Save almost $10. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, and order that book. Okay, and do not forget, again, Lord willing, nothing happens. 1 week from this Friday, I'll be beginning a review and response to the book by Kyle Pope entitled Thinking About AD 70. You don't want to miss that. Now, we are focusing on Matthew 25, 14 and following. Jesus told a parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who went into a, who went into a far country. And he's going to do business there, obviously. I shared with you yesterday how this concept of the absent master, the absent Lord, clearly the absent husband, is found throughout the Bible. We find this motif it's in the Psalms. The Lord said, and here's the interesting thing about it. In so many of those Old Testament passages, the Lord made the promise, I will never forsake you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Oh, and it sounds marvelous, and it's fantastic prophecy and promise. The dark side of that was that if Israel forsook the Lord, they always had to do the forsaking first. They had to depart from the Lord. When they turned their back on the Lord, and by the way, this imagery and this language of turning the back or being in the presence, being before the face of the Lord, this kind of language is all related to the very thing that we're talking about right now. And that is departure, the absence of the master, the absence of the Lord. So even though we have those marvelous statements in the Old Testament in which the Lord said, I'm never going to forsake you, or in which one of the prophets, and particularly David in the Psalms, would say, you will never forsake us. That was always given within the context of the conditionality, you will not forsake us, you will not depart from us if we keep your words, if we obey your laws. But guess what? They didn't keep the word. They didn't keep the law. And as a result of that, for instance, in Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 6, Isaiah laments how Jerusalem even has broken the covenant, broken the law, and as a result of that, you have forsaken us. The Lord had departed. Now, we see the concept in Ezekiel chapter 10 and 11. Specifically, chapter 11, I think it is. In that passage, Ezekiel saw the Shekinah glory of the Lord rise from the temple at Jerusalem, travel eastward to the Mount of Olives, and sit there, and the oracle of the Lord said, the glory of the Lord has departed from Jerusalem. Well, what was the Shekinah glory? It represented the presence of the Lord. So here is a statement that the Lord was departing from Jerusalem. And, of course, what's interesting about that is the Lord said He was going to scatter the children of Israel into the far distant countries. But He said, I will be to you there a little sanctuary, a little temple. In other words, here's a forestatement that the temple at Jerusalem, while it had been designated as the abode of God, the dwelling place of God, the symbol of His presence with them, nonetheless, the Lord is here saying to the righteous remnant particularly, I'm going to scatter you among the nations, but if you have faith in me, there, as you are abandoned from Jerusalem, driven from Jerusalem, I will be to you there in the foreign countries a little sanctuary. I'll be a little temple to you. Not a physical temple, not a physical edifice in any way whatsoever. He would abide with that righteous remnant. Do you get this feel? Do you get this sense of God's presence with Israel? But as a result of their sin, God departing from them. Yesterday I shared with you Jeremiah. In Jeremiah chapter 23, notice verse 33. So when these people of the prophet or the priest are saying, what is the oracle of the Lord? You shall say to them, what oracle? I will forsake you. Now this statement comes, remember, after the Lord had sent Jeremiah to Jerusalem repeatedly. They had rebuked him, they had rejected him, they had departed from the Lord through their disobedience. Now in Jeremiah chapter 23, they are feigning love for the Lord. They're faking a desire to know what the word of the Lord is. Their real allegiance was to the false prophets. And so the Lord goes so far as to say, you know what? When the people come to you and say, what's the oracle of the Lord today? What's the oracle of the Lord? And the Lord says, you know what? The time has come. In fact, we find this in Jeremiah 8 and 9. The Lord says, Jeremiah, don't even pray for this people. They had gone so far into their rebellion, gone so far into their sin, that the Lord said, sorry, their fate is fixed. And thus, when they came to Jeremiah, feigning a desire to know what the will of the Lord was, they already knew what the will of the Lord was. He had told it to them repeatedly. And so the Lord says, when they come to you saying, what's the oracle of the Lord? Then you need to tell them, what oracle are you talking about? The Lord is going to forsake you. Then we come down to verse 39 that I shared with you yesterday. Therefore I, even I, will utterly forget you. I will forsake you. And the city that I gave you and your fathers, I will cast out of my presence. Departure. I will bring an everlasting reproach upon you and a perpetual shame which shall not be forsaken. And let's not forget Hosea that I shared with you yesterday, because what Hosea said in chapter 5 and 6 is reiterated in chapter 9 about the Lord having departed from them. Hosea chapter 5. We'll begin with verse 13. When Ephraim saw his sickness and Judah his wound, then Ephraim went to Assyria and sent to King Jareb. Yet he cannot cure you, nor heal you of your wound. For I will be like a lion to Ephraim, and like a young lion to the house of Judah. Even I will tear them and will go away. I will take them away, and no one will rescue. I will return to my place until they acknowledge their offense. Then they will seek my face. See, there's that imagery of being before the face of the Lord, living in a face-to-face relationship. Covenantal, obviously not literally and physically. But do you see the image of the Lord departing? So here we have, in the case of the 10 northern tribes, Yahweh departing, Yahweh going away because of Israel's transgressions, to be sure. We find the same imagery in Jeremiah. And by the way, as N.T. Wright points out, there was a sense, there was a knowledge, there was an understanding in the first century that although Israel had returned from the Babylonian captivity, although Israel had returned in measure from the Assyrian captivity, she was still in bondage. She was still in captivity. I mean, after all, she's under the thumb of Rome. Pardon me. There was, therefore, a deep yearning for the Lord to return and to bring Israel back to him. Folks, this imagery of the absent Lord, the absent husband, was something that was powerful and foundational to the thought world of Israel. And thus, in Matthew chapter 25, just like the motif of the wedding and the coming of the Lord for the wedding, in Matthew chapter 25, when we find Jesus talking about the absent master, this is not a new concept. Now, he's going to personalize it, because he is the absent master. He is now the representative of the Lord, his Father. Just as he said in John chapter 5, 21 and following, from henceforth the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son, that the Son would judge all men, so that all men might honor the Son as they honor the Father. And in Matthew 16, 27, 28, the Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father, in the glory of the Father, just like the Father had come, and reward every man according to his works. And verily I say unto you, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming. Well, wait a minute. We've got to remember that coming of the Son of Man of Matthew 16, 27 is the return of Yahweh for the remarriage of Isaiah 62 and Hosea chapter 5 and verse 6. So you see again, Matthew 25, 14 and following, it's not new doctrine. It is the doctrine of the return of the Lord for Israel. And of course, as Isaiah 62 points out, at the return of the Lord to Israel, the Gentiles would see his glory and serve his name. So once again, this absent master motif is incredibly important. But we're out of time for today. Don't forget, get a copy of my brand new book, Circumcision in the New Creation, ? You'll be glad you did. Save yourself $10. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, and order the book. Beautiful banner right up at the very top. Okay, thanks for joining me for this morning's morning musings. I will see you on the flip side.